Another tough loss for the 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, my name is Keith Pompey. I'm one of the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. And I'm here for y'all this morning to dissect last night's Sixers loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Sixers lost 114 to 105 Thursday night at Pfizer Forum to the Bucks, which is led by, coached by Doc Rivers, the former coach. So we got a lot to dissect here. You know what, y'all? I got to admit it. I have to admit it. The Sixers missed James Harden. I remember in the beginning of the season, I wrote that the Sixers were a better off team without him. No, they're not. They miss him. Secondly, another thing, y'all. They miss him. Tyrese Maxey needs help. Right now, the Sixers' best offense is to spread the floor and let Maxey cook. Other than that, yesterday, things really weren't working. And on a positive note, Tobias Harris just might have a fourth quarter to build on. He finally looked good. Everything was working for him in the fourth quarter. So, that might be positive for the Sixers. That might be positive. That might be positive for him. So these are things that really stood out to me in yesterday's game, right? My three takeaways, the things that stood out. So let's talk about those things. Now, the thing is, the Sixers lost 114 to 105. It was a game where, Tyrese Maxey had 30 points, 18 of them coming in the first half, right? Maxey looked great. He ran out of gas at the end. I mean, he only scored 1 point in the fourth quarter on 0 for 5 shooting. Luckily for him, Tobias Harris started doing things. But aside from that, it was like nobody stepped up. I mean, you had Tobias. But aside from that, like nobody stepped up. Like when we look at it, you got the fourth quarter, Tobias Harris had 9 points on 4 for 5 shooting. Kelly Oubre had 2 on 1 for 4. Mo Bamba made one shot. Like I said, Maxey was 0 for 5. Nick Batum was 0 for 2. Buddy Hield was 1 for 2. And Campaign had made his blown basket, right? For the game, it was a game overall where Maxey had 30, Kyle Lowry had 12. He was 4 for 7. Kelly Oubre Jr. had 9 points on 4 for 13 shooting, right? Mo Bamba got the start again. He had 5 points on 2 for 3 shooting, right? And then you have Nick Batum had 5 points on 2 for 5. Paul Reed had 3 points on 1 for 4. First time that Paul really came down to earth. Buddy Hield had 9 points on 3 for 6 shooting. He was 3 for 4 on threes. And Campaign again had 13 points. He had 5 for 6 shooting. He played well, but he didn't do much after intermission, right? So then it's a game where you look at it. The Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo had 32 points. Brooke Lopez had 19 points. Dame Lillard had 17, right? Um, Green came off the bench and had 14 points. Bobby Portis had 8. Connaughton had 9. Um, Pat Bev had 6, got the start. Jay Crowder had 9. It was a game where, and the crazy part is, the Sixers were winning for most of the game. Not most, but I'm saying they did have a lead. They had a 12-point lead where it was kind of like, you know what? They have the momentum, they have the flow, but you absolutely knew that they were going to lose this game. It was something about it. And as I talked to y'all yesterday, I knew that Milwaukee was going to come out flat. Like I said, it was the first game back off a West Coast trip. Teams are normally sluggish, but you knew the fact that they didn't have anybody outside of Maxey was going to hurt them. Hurt them. And as I'm watching this game, I'm thinking about last year. I'm thinking about how last year in the regular season, when Embiid didn't play, the Sixers were 11-9, right? Thinking about how in those when James Harden missed some of those games that Embiid didn't play, but when he played, um, but when he played, James Harden, when he didn't play, but when Harden played and Embiid didn't play, Harden averaged 20.6 points, 9.4 assists, and 6.7 rebounds in the games he played in without Embiid, right? And the reason why they were able to win is because the 2018 MVP and 3-time scoring champion has the ability to take over games. And the Sixers um, looked for him to do that when Embiid was sidelined, whenever he was. Now, the thing is, right now, at this stage of his career, Maxey can't do it all by himself. That's not a knock on the all-star guard who scored a career-high 51 points to lead the Sixers to a 127-124 victory over the Utah Jazz without Embiid on February 1st. On Thursday, like I said, Maxey had 30 points with 18 coming in the first half. He just needs some help, especially when teams start blitzing him to get the ball out of his hands. Now, again, Harris broke out of his slump, scoring 19 of his 15 points in the fourth quarter, right? But that wasn't nearly enough. And that's why I go back and I say, I admit that I stand corrected for saying earlier this season that the Sixers became a better team after trading Harden to the Clippers on November 1st. I was wrong. I guess I was blindsided by all the points and everything that Embiid was doing while healthy, right? But with him sidelined, it's obvious that Harden's presence enabled the Sixers to stay afloat a year ago. I mean, it's obvious. It is obvious. There's no way that you can deny that. His presence enabled the 76ers to stay afloat. And we look at it, there was times where teams just followed his lead. And Maxey is balling. Don't get me wrong, balling. But that presence that Harden had last year enabled them to do things that they weren't able to do this year. You know what I mean? Um, they, they just can't do it. I mean, they just can't do it. Think about it. Think about how he scored 40 something points in the playoffs, game one against the Boston Celtics, from a Harden last year against Embiid. Think about all that stuff. How there was a time, what was it? It was a time in the beginning of the year where the Sixers actually looked better playing without Embiid, right? Now we look at it, and they dropped to 11. No, they dropped to 10 and 22. Last year they were 11-7. I had said 11-9. They were 11-7 without him. I mean, think of that. You know, they missed James Harden. I'm sorry, and I know I've been trying to hold off and like trying to say no. I think they're better. I did think they were better, but I kind of believe, or I kind of know, if Harden was playing right now, the 76ers would be winning. I believe that. I mean, they would be prevailing, getting some of these wins. It will be him and the Maxey show. Right now, it's just the Maxey show on a consistent basis. You know, Tobias is just slumping. He's just not able to give and provide the things that they need at this particular time. He's just slumping, right? He's just slumping. I want to talk to y'all about eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked for us this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Player of the Week. Now, what you do is I'm gonna pick one player, who will create some enthusiasm, right? And player like that. Now, the player that I'm gonna pick, seriously, the player I'm gonna pick is DeAndre Hunter. Hunter is the only forward left standing for Atlanta at this moment, so he should consistently increase his role. I'm also picking because the brother from West Philly, and I like his game. But nah, honestly, he is the only forward they have. So he's gonna have to produce, and that gives you a lot of opportunity. You ain't got to worry about him sharing time. You got doing stuff with other people. He's going to have to produce. So that's why I'm going after the Atlanta Hawks small forward. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle, right? So, with over 122 million parts for your number one ride and die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kicks, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, look at these prices. You're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Exclusions apply. Now I want to talk to y'all about what I saw last night. We talked about it, and specifically we said Tyrese didn't have any help, and you it's like one of those things. You look at it, their best offense last night and their best offense in several of the games. And sometimes you get a little help. He gets a little help from Kelly Oubre, so I'm gonna say that. And he's been getting some help from Paul Reed. He didn't have that last night. You look at Kyle Lowry right now, he's more of a facilitator, getting people involved. But their best offensive tactic at this time is just spreading the floor and let Maxey cook. That's it. That's the best thing that they can do, or that they're doing. And it doesn't always like look pretty. I mean, it looks pretty from a Maxey standpoint, but not from a team standpoint. Because yesterday was one of those things when he wasn't doing that, they were turning the ball over. Guys were missing bad shots. Um, it just didn't have any zip. And you knew that there was going to come a point in time when Maxey was just going to run out of gas. I mean, he left the game at the end of the third quarter and he goes on the bench and he was exhausted. I mean, he was exhausted. You saw it on the bench. And you thought like it was just going to be one of those things where he was just taking a quick breather. Nah, he's out for a little bit. So with all that being said, it's one of those things where, you look at it and you say to yourself that he is their offense, their best option to do anything. And, I get it. Tobias stepped up in the fourth. Um, Campaign had a solid first half, right? He's going to get raved over it. But he'd only shot the ball once after that. Buddy Hield had a quiet 9 points, right? Sixers got to fix this, y'all. They do. Somebody got to step up. Somebody has to step up. And when you look at this is when you say to yourself, this is why losing a guy like Marcus Morris hurts. It does. Because you had Kelly before, you had Marcus, you had all these other guys who could create their own shots. And, Buddy's been inconsistent, extremely inconsistent. Tobias has been in a funk, right? You can't expect Campaign, a point guard, to come out and just give you buckets and do what he's doing. You just can't. You want him to just run the offense. Nico Batum is like the unforgotten guy. Like when Joel was around, Nico was getting some shots. Now you see a lot of times where Nico's in the corner and nobody finds him, or the ball doesn't find him. So, the Sixers got a lot of work to do, man. They're very predictable, extremely predictable. But their best offense is just giving Maxey the ball and let him cook and see how that goes. And unfortunately, it hasn't really gone well because when you look at it, they lost last night. That was their 17th loss in their last 24 games. Think about that. They are 30-36, which sounds crazy because a month ago, or a little bit over a month ago, they were one of the best teams in the NBA. Right about now, they're hovering over 500. They beat the New York Knicks on Sunday night. And I said it was a fluke. I did. And I still think it's kind of like, I think if they played the Knicks again tomorrow or Saturday when they play, I think the Knicks will boat race them. I do. Because they have some things that they need to work on. Now, again, Tobias did play better in that fourth quarter, and we'll talk about that a little bit. He looked well, but it's one of those things where they need consistency. The Sixers need consistency in a big way, a huge way. So we'll see if they can provide it, what they can do. But, right now they just need consistency from other players. They're not getting it. It's just all about Maxey getting his buckets, and that's just the offense. And it, unfortunately, for them, it's the best thing to do. So there are gonna be some people, and I'm probably some players like, yo, they're probably saying it not publicly, but could be saying it privately, like, yo, this guy is just out here gunning. He's doing this, he's doing that. Well, for the most part, that's the only way things work out when it comes down to the Sixers right now. When Maxey is scoring, when Maxey is doing stuff, the offense looks good. The only thing is he needs somebody to step up to help him in order for it to work. Kind of sort of like how when Embiid was out last year, you had Harden and doing what he did, and then Maxey would be the co-star. Well, he needs a consistent co-star, and he doesn't have that at this particular moment. He just doesn't. He doesn't have a consistent co-star at this particular moment. That instant a confidence boost will get you from the outfit that makes you look really good, right? If you put on something really nice, that's going to give you an instant confidence boost. That's what I get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you can get a stylist a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season, right? Easy upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on trend favorites that will work for you, right? That's all you gotta do, right? My stylist always sends just right pieces, and that's the fit that's on point. It's like they have a style ESP. I don't know how they do it. They just go get me whatever I want, whatever I need. It's like, yo, man, you know what you're doing. And if you don't love something, just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchange are always free. So this is how you go do it, y'all. Styles that make you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/locked on. That's stitchfix.com/locked on. Stitchfix.com/locked on. I'm telling y'all, do it today, people. Definitely go out there and sign up for that stuff today. Now, Tobias had like I said, he looked pretty good in that fourth quarter. Before that, Tobias had like 6 points on 1 for 6 shooting through 3 quarters. He looked really bad. In the fourth quarter, he came to life and gave Maxey some help. And one thing, he badly sprained his right ankle, and I got to give him a lot of um, praise because he showed a lot of heart. He really did. I mean, it was a point where he sprained his ankle, rolls it. He's walking back. He's on the floor in pain. They go to commercial break. Next thing you know, you see Tobias walking, heading towards the locker room. He turns around and heads back on the floor and continues to play and continued to play well. Now, my question is, how is he going to feel over today, Friday, and how is he going to feel tomorrow, right? You wake up this morning and that'll be the telltale sign of how he feels. Because these are something that you don't play with. Like, I mean, we noticed it with Joel. There's times where Joel played through it. You're adrenaline, you're hot, you warm up, everything is good, right? And then you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, and it's like, oh, my knee hurts or my ankle is messed up. So that's the thing. But if he's healthy, the Sixers have to hope that this is something that woke him up. Because Tobias has been struggling, y'all. Been struggling mightily. And this could be the thing that gets them over the hump and gets the 76ers over the hump, so they speak, right? You look at it. Um, He showed up against the Bucks, remaining the game after twisting his ankle in the fourth quarter, right? So, and he has to feel good about his fourth quarter. Harris shot 19 for 57, 33% from the field in his previous 18 quarters, right? On Tuesday, Harris had a season low 2 points on 1 for 6 shooting in a loss to the Knicks, right? You know what I'm saying? So the Sixers can only hope that uh, you know that his ankle is fine, and they'll duplicate the fourth quarter performance heading into Saturday's game against the Hornets. Now that's if he plays. So when you factor all that in, you got to say like, look, the guy's been balling. The Sixers really need him. They need him to produce. They need him to do well. So hopefully he can do it. You know what I mean? Hopefully he can do it for them. You know, you know what I mean? Hopefully he can do it for them. So, we'll see. We'll learn out. We'll find out a lot about Tobias. We'll find out a lot about the Sixers. We do know right now they miss Harden. They do. I mean, this was another loss, and like I knew that this was going. I mean, I said it. I mean, I had a feeling that this was going to be closer games than people thought. I felt like Milwaukee coming home off of that road trip is going to, just gonna be a little sluggish. The first game is always the worst game after when you get back home. It's always the worst one. Just like, you have to figure for the Sixers, it's like, they probably got in around 3 o'clock this morning. They're not having practice today. And then they have a game tomorrow, so they're going to have to shoot around. They got the game tomorrow. And if they're not right, if not careful, they could be in for a tough battle. That's just how it goes. So we'll see, honestly. We'll see how everything goes for the Sixers. But, the good thing is they play the Hornets, who are a struggling team. And it's something that they could possibly try to build off of and get a victory. But Sixers need help, y'all. Maxey need help. Tobias needs to continue where he's going. Kelly Oubre has to get back on to being who he is, attacking. Paul Reed has to continue to do it. I mean, the Sixers need a lot of help in regards to trying to turn this thing around. Now, again, I think that this might be the only game that they win the rest of the month. I know I said that before. Some people may say, dang, that's rough. But I can't call another win where you just guarantee it, right? I just don't. But look, Launched On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now covering the free Fire TV channels app. I want to thank y'all for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thank you for listening, y'all, and I'll be back next week.